Welcome to Common Off the Shelf, a podcast for the modern Contra and preppers. We discuss items, books, and topics from a common man's perspective, and our opinions are our own. Do not take any of these as hard facts, only as our interpretation and understanding in a flawed world of amazing products, price gouging, and cheap crap. Your results may vary, and your needs may differ depending on where you live and what you know. So don't take this as a blanket endorsement for all people in every situation. Just like camouflage, your abilities and needs will vary. This is a conversation about hypotheticals and fiction with these items, and never is an endorsement of the owner, author, or any actions. Lastly, we are just common men and not experts in the fields. If we get it wrong, great, tell us. If there is something better, let us know. I can't believe I had to say this, but some of you window lickers made this necessary. Hello everyone, I'm here with Liquored Rabbit tonight. Mando is out, he's got other things going on, and I really wanted to address something this evening that ticks me off. One of the things I know Rabbit and I have experienced a lot in our careers is fraud, waste, and abuse. And sometimes fraud, waste, and abuse isn't just a government thing. Sometimes it's something to do with private companies. And that's kind of the mainstay of this conversation tonight. So it won't be a product review like the 6100, but we're going to be talking about things like that. Now, what I'm going to say is I kind of believe how NC Scout does things. We're not going to straight name names of personal stuff, and we might bring up one of the companies because they're generic monolith thing that's really has an insane setup, and not everybody's got issues with them. But I'm not going to name specific names. If you message me, text me, I'm still not going to tell you who it is. Some of you guys are going to figure it out. So I'm going to start this out tonight. Rabbit, if you want to say anything, say hello. Go for it.
Yeah, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, definitely I think we've all had a little bit of exposure to this before in the past, but I know it comes in kind of different shapes and sizes and scales sometimes, but I think when we talk about, and I think the strong point, big takeaway is as someone who thought of I had what did you want to call it, the solo prepper.
Yep.
The movies portray you, and you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to sit in my bunker, and I'm going to, I think there's many people that have said this. Many people have said the same thing, that you need to build your community, and you can't do it all by yourself. You might have a lot of strengths. That's awesome. I feel like we all do, but you need to fill the gaps with your community, and the community is what it's about.
Yep, and I think I sent you this book, and I recommend it to everyone. Prairie Fire, anything written by Joe Dolio, and obviously NC Scout, but he doesn't write about the specifics of actually group stuff. He talks about it on his podcast quite a bit. And I think that's important to the conversation, and they're not the only ones that say this stuff. I will say this, that communities can be hard for people to get into building groups. I haven't had such a hard time with it. Rabbit I met a long time ago, and we started building a community, but he's now far away from me, and I'm far away from him, and I'm far away from Mando. We're a community, but now since we're so spread out, we have to join to other communities. And one that they pushed quite a bit, and I think it's because they're good dudes. Every one of them. You look at Joe Dolio's book, you see the Jerusalem cross on it. There's Psalms and things out of the Bible that he will quote to make his point. They're still military guys. They still have their attitudes. They still act like military guys. But you can tell good dudes sometimes from that. Now, there are shady, shitty people in churches, and you got to be cautious. One of the reasons why I have my friend Rabbit is because I can't catch con artists and tricksters in the normal way. I don't have that feeling where I go, hey, that guy's a little weird. Something's wrong with him. I take him at face value. Rabbit doesn't. I think you do a good job at sussing out jerks and con artists.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, I mean, you get burned enough times, I guess you get to learn the trade a little bit. But yeah, definitely. I mean, I think um, religion is definitely something I think we can say is it does bring communities together, and it's something of a bonding. It doesn't matter religion. It's just I think it's a strong point of conjecture to.
Yeah, and I think most preppers in general are going to fit more into the Christian based, maybe Jewish based stuff, and I know Islam has it too. The Mormons obviously are big preppers. May not be your type of religion, but anyways, so I won't go into the details. I kind of got pushed towards Christianity by some really good dudes, and my girlfriend went to church a lot, and she went through a whole bunch of troubling stuff, and I was like, we need to go to church. So we started going to church. I met the pastor, and the pastor, we were talking one day, and I brought up some radio stuff that I did. And he's like, oh, we're trying to do a radio group. Now, I'm in a region right now that has a lot of natural disasters, and they were concerned about natural disasters because of North Carolina. His son, one of his sons, was in North Carolina at the time when Helen came through and devastated. And they had no contact for 7-8 days, didn't have water, didn't have this, didn't have some other things. And they were like, wow, we really need communications. And I think that's why a lot of us are into comms. Once you get past guns and weapons and bang, bang, boom, boom, and I'm going to shoot my way into victory like a video game, you start realizing a lot of it's just, can I communicate? Well, can I eat first? Can I get water? Can I do this? And then you start going, now I need a radio. Shoot, move, and communicate's a big deal. And Clay Martin has put this out too. And it's a niche thing that you have to really get to know and get a good handle on. I don't know my medical stuff. Rabbit knows his medical stuff. He is my go-to guy on that. And in Clay Martin's book, Prairie Fire, the other book, Concrete Jungle, he talks about being a Green Beret. He talks about building his community and fitting those little puzzle pieces together. Realistically, everybody's a gun guy. Some people shoot better than others, but you've got to have a guy who really knows how to work on firearms beyond Lego, let me put parts together. Because most of us can do that. And I need a medic. And I need somebody who's skilled at that. Well, you need a comms guy too. And that's one of the things that a lot of people miss out on is they don't understand comms. They pick up a radio, they press the button, they can either communicate or they can't. And it's complicated in a lot of ways, but it's simple in other ways. You go to NC Scouts class, he will teach you the bare minimum you need to know to be pretty good right off the rip, especially with VHF, UHF, getting into the RTO and then the advanced RTO. I think you would agree with that, correct?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's something that even people that have the knowledge, it's great to have. You need to practice. You need to see other people's point of views. You need to, again, I know sometimes it's hard within this community, or I guess it might be an oxymoron community, but the community is kind of hard to build sometimes. A lot of skeptics, a lot of smoke and mirrors sometimes with some people, a lot of stuff that's said that just isn't true. I mean, you talk about like the medical stuff changes and advancements and stuff like that we come to know and learn. Same thing with computers. Go and buy a computer the next day sometimes. But yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, I mean, we need the practice. You need to go to classes, and classes aren't always cheap. I think Scouts courses are right around $500. Dolio's about the same. But there are places out there, and if you're in the shooter world, you've seen these guys. If you go to courses, some guys are really skilled, some guys are really not. And you can see sometimes how much they charge. Hey, they're a new guy. Some new guys, like I took Historian's class recently. Historian is phenomenal. He's a great teacher. He knows his stuff, and he knows more than he even covers in that class. And I think the next time he has a class is going to be way better. He charged $400 for that class. I would have paid $500 off the rip for a 2-day class with him because we got so much in there. Just same thing with Scout. And I haven't been to Dolio's class. I haven't been to Wyoming Survival. follow them on X, you'll see them putting out good points. If you listen to Sons of Liberty, you'll hear Dolio talk about stuff. He knows this stuff. Wyoming Survival, same thing. He's always doing radio stuff. He's always bringing a little bit more edge to it. He's drilling into the basics. And you can see the value of them as they present themselves. But there are so many people out there, especially in the radio area, and I want to preface this. Not everything you learn has to come from the military. I think Rabbit will agree with this. Not everybody in the military is either proficient, capable, or knowledgeable on the things they want to teach, and that comes from people who say they're Navy SEALs down to your line file guys who don't know crap.
Oh yeah. You know, how many guys are going to say, oh hey, I was 11 Bravo or 0311, and I know this, that, the other thing, but in reality, maybe you got to ask me, and that's happened, you know. I mean, we know guys that are like that. There's nothing wrong with that either. It's just, you know.
And I want people to understand we're not going to berate somebody because they're civilian, because they're running a business. And I understand when you're running a business, you need to make money. If that's your only livelihood, it's not a hobby, it's not a side thing. I help people learn radio stuff. I talked to my pastor about this. I'm like, hey, I can help you guys get along. Well, we had an event, and it was held at a very rich person's house. Well, for me, rich. I don't know about the rest of you guys listening. Some of you guys might be filthy wealthy. I will say this: the silverware in that house probably was worth more than my life. I know it's a little bit of a hyperbole, but obviously there's some really expensive stuff. Very nice house. The people there were well-to-do gentlemen, ladies. They were very skilled. But one of the things that you learn in prepping is, especially when you start off, you don't know as much as you think you do. And I would venture to say the more we get knowledge in things, the less we do know. Because there's a lot of nuances. I know a little bit about medical stuff, and I made a comment on the 60-100 podcast about barrels. Mando knows his barrels, and he kind of was trying to get into the weeds with it. I was trying to make a basic point. But he's right. And I know I don't know as much as he does. That's why I like the guy. He can teach me every time I talk to him. And a lot of people go out there and they go online and they look for something. They go, hey, I have water now. I have this. I need to communicate with family that's long distance. Where am I going to go? Who am I going to talk to? And there is, I think it's called SOE, which is searching online, optimization stuff. There are some really good links out there that will send you to some of the dumbest, most expensive, overpriced, overrated stuff on the market, which you don't know. You never know. And I think when you start out, Rabbit, you didn't know anything. And if I handed you a homestead with fuel supplies, food, water, ammo, all this other stuff, would you have had responsibly been able to take care of that past maybe 6 months?
Probably not. I mean, it's just not realistic. It's, you know, you got to think of the intricacies of all that stuff, and even just the radio. Sometimes hard to grasp, just because of how technical it can be. About digital, the last episode, we were talking about high power and low power settings, or transmission, and like, okay, what does that do?
What does it mean to the guy who's actually
exactly like how, you know, and obviously the goal on that is, hey, you just want to hear your friend or whoever you're trying to contact and make contact and make a clear, oh, hey, I can hear you. Oh, hey, you can hear me. Cool. Well, it doesn't matter sometimes the bells and whistles that are attached to it. You just need to be able to effectively use your equipment. And I think I think that's definitely, I would say that if it doesn't matter what equipment you have, run it.
Yeah,
you know,
and sometimes you don't need the most expensive thing. You got that KX3 phenomenal radio. It's expensive as hell. The 6100's a great radio. Now, there's some nuances, and sometimes there's value in spending more money. If you're on your radio all the time and you're trying to do certain things, maybe you want a more expensive radio. Maybe you need something.
Yeah, tactical world is totally full of that stuff. I mean, you talk about between lasers and optics and guns themselves, all that other stuff. There's always going to be different levels and tiers that you can get into, but sometimes, I mean, Well, actually, we all know this stuff is not cheap, and everything seems to be getting a little like more expensive, and where you can save a dime and still accomplish the same task is important to me right now. I mean, budget has
Yeah.
been very
Yeah.
important in the last couple of years.
So, back to my little story with this stuff. Pastor said, "Hey, come out." I brought my girlfriend. My girlfriend's really smart. She is radio stupid, and that's not being mean. She just doesn't know radios at all. We went to this place, sat down with all these rich people, and the presenter starts presenting. Like I said, I'm not going to say names. You can figure it out. I'm not going to verify it. Presenter starts presenting stuff. He's talking to these people, and the whole time he never lied directly. He was dead nuts on a lot. He started out talking about ham radio operators, though, and Rabbit and I both were ham radio operators. We both have our call signs. I'm a little more on the hobby side. He's not. He got it so he could train, get a little bit better, and everything else. But so I won't say, "Hey, you can't make fun of ham radio operators." But the guy came out real fast and he started,
Oh, I totally make fun of him.
which I do too. But it's in jest, and there's a lot of good guys too out there.
No, you got to be able to
Yeah.
roll punches. But so he's talking about these ham radio guys, but it's like
Yeah, he
bad
starts
sense?
going off about ham radio operators, and they have all their name tags on there, and they have their call signs. And I feel like he was setting it up, and this is something I caught afterwards after we started talking about this after I left. I was a little bit kind of perturbed. I'm like, fine, hammer the sad hams, and I kind of went along with it too. I even made a comment, but he was talking about people having their call sign on their hats and stuff like that. But it was almost like, don't listen to these guys. They don't know what they're talking about. And I agree to a certain extent. I have been trained differently than most ham radio operators. I've gone to Scouts classes. I've gone to a couple other radio classes too. And we're looking at it from a tactical, a contra setting instead of I'm going to get on my radio and play how many contacts can I make in an hour, how many contacts at a certain distance can I make. So it's a little different. And it should have been a red flag, but it wasn't. But it was to my girlfriend. She pointed that out later. And she was pretty upset about that. And she's heard me shitting all over the place on certain sad hams. We had this conversation about them trying to stop communications with a common Baofang up in the mountains. I heard over the radio. I posted on X, and I heard other hams stomp that guy and say, "No, it's an emergency situation. It's 10 o'clock at night. This guy can speak." So not all hams are bad, and some of these guys know what they're doing. They're in Mars, and they're doing other projects that are related to disaster relief and stuff like that. So we continue on, and he starts talking about pace plans. Now, I will say this, Rabbit, you know how Scout's pace plan is, correct? And if you want to run down kind of what he does.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know for the most part. I mean, for those who may not, I mean, pace plan is just a pretty much a set of pre-mission set, I guess if you could say. A lot of people, and I even have a pace plan for my house normally. Like you technically run one. Obviously pace being PACE with your primary, alternate contingency, and emergency communications. It's at least the way that we're going to be using it. But I mean, you can even put it even on your day-to-day life. You use a pace plan. Every day. Hey, primary. I'm going to call my family. What do I use?
Yep.
Cell phone. That's my primary way of talking. Oh, hey, if that doesn't work and my cell phone starts to be kind of weird, I might text, or I might send a Facebook message, or do a text or digital message or whatever. And that does go to a different part of the tower, which technically, as long as the tower is still standing, it may, but either way. But yeah, we use pace plans as average people all the time. And
yeah, we don't call them pace plans.
Necessarily. I mean, I think I do just because I'm a nerd.
Yeah, and in the military and the training we've had.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not knocking this guy. This guy had a pace plan, and his pace plan was pretty smart. Primary was cell phone. You communicate with primary, and he even said the same thing you did. Hey, try text messages, etc. We're probably going to discuss a radio later, and this will come into play with this. But his second one, his alternate, was a SATCOM setup, but it wasn't a satellite phone that he was specifically talking about. He was talking about using a product that sends and receives text messages, which is really cool. Some of the hikers and stuff really like that product. It's not too expensive. It's good. And then his contingency was radios. Now, we're talking from a partisan point of view. None of us should be playing with satellite communications unless we know nobody up there is looking for us. It's really easy to track somebody who's transmitting through the atmosphere. And there are satellites to hunt you for that. That said, this is for civilian stuff. I can dig it. I can dig the satellite phones. I don't know if you had satellite phones with you in the military, but we've heard the stories with it. We've heard people survive and have to call in their talk and be like, hey, I need call for fire. Our radios aren't working. I'm sure you've heard that one before, right?
Yeah, I mean, everyone, like, we didn't have one we were at, but not that we really had a need, but I mean, like, I've used, at least on the civilian side, and that's actually kind of funny. We were talking about differences between military and civilian side.
Yep.
Civilian side's got a bunch. I mean, you got a bunch of these options that I know, like Garmin makes a bunch. They're all different sizes and capabilities. Some just send like a auto emergency message out.
They'll tell you where you are, where your family is, and
yeah, it's like what is it? In case of emergency. Oh, hey, it like sends like a lat long to whoever you pre-program.
Yeah, Spot has one of those too as well, and a couple other ones, and they're good. They're all on their Iridium system. They work just fine. So he went on, and the host of the house had purchased some stuff that day, and he spent for himself at his house and his two sons right around $3,000. Now, that's a lot of money. That's some really good radios. Really good radios. I didn't see his radios. But when I walked in, there was a couple radios sitting up there. The common ubiquitous Baofangs were sitting out there. There was a 3-pack Baofang. There was an AR-152 with a gooseneck antenna, just like Scout has. I will say this, and I like this a whole bunch. Most of his radios had signal sticks on it. I was like, oh, good. I like the signal stick. Scout likes the gooseneck, and I get why. It's easier to bend over sideways. You can do some stuff on it, which is in his book, but we won't go into that right now. And that was really cool. I just personally like the signal stick. You can do the same thing. You can weave it through your molly gear. I think you have a couple, don't you?
Yeah, I've used them a bunch. I haven't exactly figured out what I want, just because I still haven't been able to figure out exactly where I want to put the stupid thing. But yeah, the signal sticks. I mean, I've had a couple of those. I have the what is it? The just talking about it. The gooseneck. I had one of those. Had a couple of the signal sticks. I've used.
I think you got a couple stubbies too. I think we got some stubbies at one of the classes too, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Easy BNC, unplug, replug. This guy sells BNC stuff too, and I'm fully supportive of it. Fully supportive of it. Now,
is he a camo guy?
He pulled out.
Or he?
Yeah. So I don't want to go into his background way too much, just because I don't want to out the guy. But he's a civilian camo guy.
Yeah. I was more in the way of the context of like you guys were preparing for the church.
So we were looking for radios for a local regional support network for people in the church to say, hey, something's wrong, power's out, don't have cell phone service, what's going on, and have that connection for the community. I totally dig it. Not really a hard project for me to set up. I've actually taught this stuff before. Thanks to Scout actually kind of guiding me even better. I can teach it way better than I used to be able to. And I know you can too. Maybe we bounce around a little bit, kind of like this podcast, but it's still, he has a better skeleton for the teaching.
Yeah.
I knew what he was teaching. I just didn't have the right skeleton. I was building a dog instead of a human kind of situation. So anyways, he's sitting there, he's having this conversation. And one of the things that kind of got me was, and I want to caveat this, Scout, Dolio, and other people get emails, text messages, and stupid comments all the time, and stupid questions. And they say there's never a stupid question, but there is a stupid question. Sometimes you can figure it out if you just rub two brain cells together. And you should try to do that before you contact somebody who's heavily busy. Sometimes they will call you out for being dumb. But I mean, Scout had his podcast recently. He was talking about a farm in another location that's 25 miles away over a mountain. And the guy was like, I'm thinking about getting an Envis radio. What should I do? Blah, blah, blah. Look at the G90. Good radio. All this other stuff. And Scout's like, I think you're better off doing XYZ, but I'm going to email you later. Because it was a good question. So, Scout sells his stuff, and he made some good points. And I think time is money. And I think sometimes Scout wastes a lot of time replying to people or having to even read some of these emails. So don't get me wrong. I think sometimes people need to be able to spend money or, hey, I'm going to charge you for my time. I get that. This gentleman he was going to waive for us the fee of $100 for a consultation. And $100 is quite a bit for people, not for this community, but $100 is a bunch. And it kind of got in the back of my head. I've seen so much stuff. You see the ads online for I don't care what you're buying, especially training programs. They're always like, this project or this program's worth $5,000, but I'm giving it to you today for free or $89.99, or I'm going to give you this free thing for whatever. And they're selling other stuff. They're giving you something free so you buy other products. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Because if you deal with Scout, he's going to say, buy my stuff, don't buy my stuff. I don't care. If you find a better deal, go for it. I don't really care. I'm going to sell my stuff either way. And he's competitive. Sometimes it's a little more. But I'm going to go buy from Scout when I have the money. And I'm going to tell everybody else to. Because he builds the community. And I think that's important.
Well, I don't think anybody is right now. But so he's just trying to sell you on a couple ideas or like some just equipment?
Yeah, he was going to do a consultation. But he's going to waive that. So the homeowner said, hey, I want you to look at this. This is what we got. And he picks up this bag. And the pouch is, it's about the size of a dump pouch. It has a radio in it. It has a wired antenna. It has a coax cable. And it has a battery in it. Now, this is... I didn't get to look at it really well. And I'm kind of upset that I didn't. But I think it was a B-Tech radio. And in a second, I'm going to go see if I can find it. And compare this. And compare and contrast this. But he had it. And he said this was $1,000 kit. Yeah.
Raw with what we're talking about now. I mean,
so he bought $3,000 worth of radios that day. One for him, one for his family members. And this gentleman said, you probably won't get your friends and family to buy radios. You just be prepared to buy it for them. Just make it an expensive Christmas gift. And then you don't have to buy a Christmas gift for a while. To be fair, the sentiment's there. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I totally have radios for other people. Totally 100%. Because let's be honest, the radio is totally useless if there's not at least two people coming from. But I mean, okay, I'll follow you.
So let me see here. I want to see if they got the mobile radios. Okay, so we're looking at it a Baofeng Tech 25 by 4. Now I want to say, or it might have even been the UV 50 by 2, which is $209. So we'll go with the higher price one. That's a $200 radio. And how much did you spend on your battery for your radio that ran your 100 watt?
I think it was $100, and it really I think I probably overpaid, but I think it was a better
Yeah,
quality.
and I think you got. I don't remember if you got a Bioenno. I got a Bioenno because of the time they were out. To nowadays, you can go on Amazon and get the same capacity battery or nearly the same capacity battery. If you spend some time doing research, you can find some really good batteries for $75, maybe $100 with the charger. So you can buy a couple batteries and the battery charger kit and probably spend $200, $300, and you have 4 backup batteries plus a charger. $1,000 for a small pouch carryable radio.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to hear more on. I mean, that's. I mean, I'm trying to think of other radios off the top of my head that are $1,000, and let's be honest, we were talking about the 6100, and that I think it's 7 with tax. And I think the 7200 I think is 850 with tax.
Yeah.
Maybe.
On the brushbeater.store, the 6100 is $600 straight. The let's see if he doesn't have the 6200 up. Probably oh no, it is $789.99. Which,
So I mean, you're still talking under $1,000 with tax, and that thing, it does kill. I mean, I think
yep,
it's definitely, and I think of other ones, like that, was it TBR not 119?
yep.
I think that thing is
Yeah,
$2,000.
it's $2,000, but it does VHF, UHF, and here's the kicker: the PMR 171
and HF.
Do you remember the one TBR?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that's gutted.
It's
not gutted.
It's got the
It doesn't look like a pack.
right.
Radio.
It's got the battery on the bottom. It was the one that's got the battery on the bottom. It is built like a pack radio, but it's got the air vents on the side, so it's not as waterproof. Okay.
Yep.
That one's $725. It does HF, VHF, and UHF. $725. Now, I will say,
no, granted, it doesn't come with a radio, or I mean, excuse me, it doesn't come with a battery.
right.
And,
well, it's got a battery. No,
but I mean, you're going to get both.
It's got the battery base.
Oh,
yeah,
that
one comes with it. The Q900, you're thinking of the Q900, which is the same thing, which is like $600. So for another $125, you get a big honk. The old Vietnam style radios that we talked about. So, and this started bothering me, and we ended up leaving. Everything was fine. Walked out. And I turned to the pastor. I'm like, I can teach you all this stuff he was talking about more, and I can do this for a hell of a lot cheaper if we have to pay out of pocket. But we got some deals going on. I got some handshaking and stuff to take care of the church. And again, this comes from good Christian people helping out me, the former atheist jerkwad, who, to be fair, I love Christians. I was always like, hey, I promote Christians, don't bash them. I think Christianity is a good religion, even if I quote-unquote don't believe, but everything they do is for a good reason usually, and there's usually a reason why the Bible is written a certain way. Maybe I don't agree with everything, blah, blah, blah. It's irrelevant to the conversation, but you see, I'm not coming from a spot where I'm the good Christian guy, hanging out with good Christian guys, and they're just helping me out. I was the atheist, and they're still helping me out. So there's that. Anyways, back to this thing. So we get home, and we walked out. My girlfriend's like, he felt shady. He felt sleazy, and he was rude in ways he didn't need to be about ham radio operators. This is a person who has no idea how much a radio costs. And I started talking to her about the prices, and she was...
Yeah, because I still can't even think of anything that would ever justify anything like that. But, I mean, I'm not going to lie and say that that's not the first time I've heard of someone using prepper industry, I guess, to inflate the prepper industry. I mean, the prepper industry is based off of a what if. No, you can go from one end of the spectrum to the other, but yeah, hurricane, snowstorm, tornadoes.
I'm gonna hold you on that just for a second. She specifically pointed something out that I didn't catch on to either. we were talking about transmitting from one state to multiple states over, etc. And he kept on reinforcing the fact you need comms to talk to your loved ones. You need comms. What happens when everything goes down? You need comms for this. Don't get me wrong. I agree with the concept, but he was pushing that fear thing. I'm going to give you a couple other prices. The DMR 6x2 from B-Tech, which is your Anytone 878.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if the blue or green.
Or was there like a goal in which you guys were trying to? Was it like you were looking for a base station for the church, or were you looking for like maybe a little bit of both you could hand out to some of the parishioners and, you know?
A little bit of both, but we were also communicating in the fact that we just want to get this group going. They don't know anything about radios, and they don't know me well enough yet because we're kind of new to the whole church to be specific until he heard me talk afterwards. And he's like, "Oh, you do know what the hell you're talking about," which is good, but you know, he doesn't know me very well. And it was just kind of a get together with a couple of the guys who were interested to start, hey, they're talking about radios, let's go listen to what they have to say. Maybe there's a good deal, and I could say, yeah, like, get this. We left, and I was like, hey, we're going to do XYZ. I'll teach class. I'll get you guys set up. Don't worry about this. We already have a couple Baofangs. We got like 5 or 6 Baofangs there. I'll probably bring a couple more. I bought 2 for the church anyways. And I'm looking at base. Yeah, and I like Joe Dolio posts on X all the time. Here's the sale for XYZ. It could be a shotgun, it could be a rifle, it could be radios, it could be. He had Right and Rain pads today. Just anything he finds on sale, and he'll post it.
That one. That was a good. Well, you can get the stupid the little pads. There was $13. It really was. It was a pretty good deal on their end, and I've liked they're pretty good.
Yeah. So. I'm gonna, and we're gonna stick with the VHF UHF from here on out. He's selling a Yaesu VX6R for right about $460, and this does come with the BNC connector, the signal stick, but those radios, as good as Yaesu is, a VX6R generally goes for about $200. I want you, Rabbit, to guess the price of a UV5R Baofeng UV5R.
Oh shoot, UV5R. I think I bought one at least when maybe $30,
okay.
$40 maybe.
Yeah,
that's kind of where
I've right at $30.
Yeah.
How much do you think he's selling them for?
God, I would hate to hope it's any higher than that because they're not really worth any more.
They're good radios, don't get me wrong.
Like, I am die. I mean, as I buy them, they die. Like, it just happens. That's why I buy one every couple of months, just because I know one of them's just going to not
I've had a couple
anymore.
that have lasted a lifetime, too. So it's not like, they've lasted 5, 6, 7 years, no problem. And I've used them. And some are, the AR-152, that thing, it's in my car all the time. It gets thrown around. I throw it in the back seat. And I'm like, oh crap! I need to move it. Somebody's getting the car. Blah blah blah. It goes in the back, and that one's worked out pretty well. I think it's a little bit more bomb proof. The $60-$70 big battery. He is selling the extended battery with the signal stick antenna, a battery cable that goes from USB.
Huh. That's interesting. I'm trying to remember how much the signal.
I think we bought them for like $16 to $17.
I know they've gone up, unfortunately, on that.
Okay.
$25. $25,
which is still the signal stick, a BNC connector.
Yeah, and I can understand signal or for the signal sticks is like $30, $40.
Yeah. Guess what if you want all the other stuff? And this is the pack for it. An exoskeleton, the spare microphone, a wearable BNC antenna, magnetic BNC connector base station, a 12-volt cigarette lighter charger, a whole bunch of other stuff. Guess what the max cost of one Baofeng radio could be?
Oh shoot, if you're doing 120 for that, what, 200?
$724 with all the accessories you can put on that thing.
For a Baofeng?
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of add-ons, and some of those prices are okay, but $724.
I mean, at that price, I gotta check this out because now it's gonna bother me.
Now,
I can go buy a KX3 for $200 more.
yeah.
And that's probably
Which
one of the most expensive radios.
VHF, UHF, HF.
Plus, I guess I'm using it and realizing you never use half the stuff. You just never use it, or it just doesn't interface with what you're trying to do. It's just like a grossly. It takes.
It reminds me of the prepper who goes and buys the first aid kit for $100 and something, and it's full of Band-Aids and other stuff. And 2x2s, you got 10 2x2s, which sounds good if you don't know what you're doing. And you're like, I could get a 4x4 and cut it into 2x2s. Why,
Yeah,
things like
you're
that.
going to totally do that if you really need it.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
You may need that 4x4 a hell of a lot more than you need a box of 2x2s.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and kind of, going back to, obviously, the main idea, the thing of being a little excessive and, feeding off some of this stuff. And the medical is the same way. I mean, I can go on about that I mean, you talk about these kids. Some of these guys that are coming out here, and I've met all sorts of people, and some of them are just, hey, I'm just going to give you pretty much like 3 boxes of Band-Aids and maybe a tourniquet, and that's it. Like, okay, like, tourniquet, that's cool. Is it a real tourniquet? I'm kind of a stickler for that just because I've seen them fail, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But I mean, using people's fear for that and establishing a kind of a baseline of anxiety is, hey, you need to buy this right now. Like, yes and no. I'll bring it into the Amazon. Totally can do that. But they are garbage, and they will probably end up killing you when you actually try to use them. Guaranteed. Unfortunately, that stuff does cost. You're going to look at $40 for one tourniquet, and you have 2 arms and 2 legs. So that I still
want to do the podcast about the tourniquets. I got you to review, and I think we talked about that, the wide one.
I got more info on those too. That would be good. So we'll expand on that later.
But that was a guy I took a risk on. I'm like, hey, let me buy two of your tourniquets. Let me see how these are. Are they good? Are they bad? Now, I had decent experience with moving around and working with them, but I didn't test them hard, and I knew I couldn't. So what do? I contact you. We try to get some to Mech Medic, buddy. If you ever hear this podcast, hopefully we'll get you to him someday. I left one with Scout to play with, and another guy got some who's a doctor to play with too, and he has his opinions. Well, RTL SDR dongle for your computer.
Yes, I do. Plug and play one, right?
Yeah. How much did you spend for that? Just ballpark it.
Oh, it was $50-something. I don't think it was the best one, but I know it wasn't, garbage either. I still use it. It kind of sits with the rest of the radios as a...
Yeah. SIGINT stuff, and it's on the SIGINT side of it.
Yeah.
So he sells his for $99. If you want the BNC stubby antenna, that's another $39. If you want the BNC signal stick antenna, that's $29, which is $25. A little upcharge because you bought some. I can actually stomach that.
And that signal stick it's about that much.
Yeah. Magnetic BNC antenna base, $39. A disc cone antenna with mast, or with mast mouth, $139. I'm going to caveat this one. A disc cone antenna is not hard to build. I'm not going to throw shade on somebody who doesn't know anything about radios, doesn't understand antenna theory. Because we build them. We build them in class. You're building a general antenna. The only difference is you get a lot more. You build a better base for a disc cone.
Well, they become precise, and obviously antenna theory, that's a college course.
That's a whole other animal. Yeah. a day.
Understanding the basics of, ultimately giving you the
To the
courage for
experiment.
oh wow, this is actually
Historians
something
class
you can
taught
do.
us three or
So
four different antennas, and he went over the pros and cons, and he brought some out. And what he said, I was kind of chit chatting with him about some EMP protection stuff he had brought up for one of the people from the course or from the meeting that I went to. And I was like, hey, I know a little bit more about this. This gentleman sells EMP bags, but he couldn't quite sell them because he didn't know if they were good or not. And realistically, I can't test for an EMP. I can't make an EMP. Historians like EMP is nothing more than a radio wave going out. It's a really, really specific one, but that's all it is. He's like, if you take the ambient noise and drop it from whatever it is, the baseline, negative or 70 to 80 dB, you'll protect all your gear from a EMP. Now you have to shield it from contact with a box that you're protecting it. And he brought some stuff up. He showed us exactly how he did his stuff. And he's concerned about EMPs. Other people are concerned about EMPs. Hell, A. American, our good buddy, who's in Florida, he wrote a whole book series on an EMP. So it's not like it's something that we don't think about. China has them, Russia has them, America has them, I'm sure UK has them, maybe India has them. I don't know. Maybe Iran's working on one. Maybe they do have one. It's a big threat, but it's not my top of the line threat. And
yeah, it's a hard one. I mean, between the natural and the human factor on that is
oh yeah, the
very hard to predict.
CME books, which are coronal mass ejections, and they basically do the same thing as an EMP, or they could just kill all humans off. One of the two.
Yeah, some of them are. It's wild. I can't speak to.
Yeah.
That's definitely not something I'm.
I read some
super
books on it, but
excited about.
again, there's not. I don't know enough. I know where my Dunning and Kruger, and I'm way in the I'm an idiot stage on that one.
I'm just really surprised that. I mean, I want to say surprised, but I can't be because I've run into the same thing with other gear types. Obviously, this is radios, but like I said, medical stuff,
Go to a gun show.
stuff, firearms, you go to some of that stuff, and I mean, you never actually know. You need, 18 different types of tasers and all this different type of.
I'm selling body armor that floats in the water. It'll protect you from a rifle round. Will it? Have we tested?
And I mean, I don't think that is anything that is surprising to people. I don't think anybody wants that. And I mean, I can understand this stuff gets, you need to make a.
Yeah, you gotta make a living.
Business,
I totally agree with making a living. And don't get me wrong, not everything I've seen on Scout's website's the cheapest all the time, because there's sales. Other people buy 5,000, he buys 500. There's going to be those things.
Yeah, and none of that is ever going to amount to the amount of community outreach that comes with that, though. And that's kind of the other part about it is like, that's why, hey, you need to buy local. Just your fruit and vegetables. Go to your farm stands. Go to make friends with your farmers. And
where do you get your produce?
Technology's hard. I would go and say technology is the hard one because there's no more Radio Shack, unfortunately, and I was, that was a little before my time, unfortunately. But at the same time, like, there's nowhere to get stuff like this. And so when you are, the only guy in town, it does kind of suck that you're going to hey, I'm going to drastically, and I mean, some of them aren't horrible markups, but I can't see in any way, in a feasible way to say, hey, look, I can get a B-Tech radio for $1,000 no matter what you stick on it. Because there isn't anything. I mean, there's direction finding equipment that's finding radio waves, and you've had all these other technical things, and I even mentioned, I said, hey, look, like L-Craft cable, so best radios for low power operations ever made. I mean, it is not. There's nothing to be said that this is
$1,400. You get an IC 705. Now, grand, you need a tuner along with it. to protect your radio.
Not on that. No, not that.
No, the
The three
KX3
doesn't.
doesn't.
That
But I
one has
mean,
it. Yeah.
what I'm saying, $1,400, you
Oh
get
yeah,
that,
yeah.
or you can get the TX500, which is a really nice bomb-proof radio, and they're out
Yeah.
there. Or I could buy right around that price. I could buy a nice 100-watt base station or 50-watt base station that has a waterfall, all this stuff, and does VHF, UHF.
Shoot, I was looking at one.
I can't
Oh,
remember if
shoot,
ICOM or Yaesu has one. I know there's.
I know that 897 or whatever that I bought. It was, well, now granted,
Yeah.
it is a couple of years ago, but I'm trying to think. I think I purchased. I want to say I purchased that for $650 from. Now granted, it was
Yeah.
a second hand, but you see, like you said, other base stations and stuff. The prices are coming down just because of some things.
New stuff's coming
Mostly.
out. Waterfalls are making things easier. They're building stuff in a different way.
And SDRs are becoming the software-based radios are becoming more popular as well. And I just cannot get over. I don't know. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. Even if you are saying, "Hey, I'm doing this for the betterment of the good." Okay, cool. But are you really going to ride the coattails of like
Yeah,
scare tactics and fear and like, oh hey, like it's going to show up at your road tomorrow? I mean, there are other places and other radios that go and say, oh hey, it works all the time. It works, you know, does it? You know, when you look into the back end of it, does it work like it's intended? We were talking about North Carolina. North Carolina had like a handful of cell phone towers. Now, granted, I will go and say, hey, this is speculation because I wasn't there. I only hear second, third hand accounts from technicians and other people that were there going there. A ton of the towers, they just didn't exist. And people are, oh, well, I'm going to use a cell phone based service. Okay, well, that works great. It totally works great if the tower is still up. But the tower was gone. The tower is destroyed. And you're talking about terrain type that is very unfavorable for signal. I mean, you get into a valley and, oh, it's not going to go where you want it to. I mean, you're in the mountains. It's not going to go where you want.
you need to know
And you
how
do-
to set up an antenna to
Now,
get
granted-
out of your box canyons, out of your valleys, and everything else.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
all that infrastructure was gone in an instant, and those poor people there had to deal with what was left, which was not a lot. And I mean, the community and those who were even outside that community. I mean, I watched the aviation side a lot. You know, when that came in with Operation Rotorblade and a couple of the others that came in, and just the numerous amount of people that just,
Yeah.
hey, let's go help these people out. You know, government wasn't there. We got to get these guys off the side of the mountain. They need food, they need water, they need whatever. And that was a great opportunity. And you know, I do the best that I could, which you know, just because you bought something that was $18,000, you know, this crazy huge communication setup, if you've never used it, it's not going to work.
And here's
Guaranteed.
something that I'm going to go back on, and this may change your opinion because I want to save this for the end. One of the products that gets taken care of by this company is they set up your radios with all the local repeaters and everything you need. Out of the box, it comes fashioned for where you are.
I mean, that is good.
I still can't fathom. I appreciate that. But here's the problem with that. How the hell do you deal with it in a couple years when the repeater's down, they switched things, a new repeater's up, everything else? Remember the ID51s? ICOM ID51s? So that radio, if you connect and do an update, it gives you all that information already. How much did we pay for those when they were brand new? Those things are brand stinking new. How much did we spend for that radio? So three?
Those were a couple $100 a piece. $450.
How much?
$450 a piece.
$450.
I might be wrong though.
And that's Yeah, and that's a little handheld. No, you might be right. I was thinking 350, but it might have been 450. That's a lot of money. But for 450, for as long as that radio exists and ICOM wants to put it out, every repeater in your area, and it's not just ICOM's digital repeaters. It's every repeater in that area. And because of the GPS on board, it will geolocate and say, "Hey, you can get to these repeaters." And it'll tell you what the distance is from you to that repeater.
Yes, yeah, and I just updated mine, and that
Yeah. What if I set up a repeater with two Baofangs connected with a cable? How in the hell is somebody who's got this thing made for them ever going to figure that out? It's the trigger time they don't have.
Wow. Yeah, and that to be, I mean, it totally is the main idea, though, is you can have the coolest stuff, and I think you touched on it the last episode with the KX3. I do the best I can with it, but having to, if I don't use it all the time, it just doesn't. It start forgetting stuff, and if it wasn't for that card, the Nifty Guide, I would be lost. And you didn't know if you were going to use it or not. You didn't. You prepared. That's what it's about. And none of this stuff will help if it's still in the box
and you don't know how to use it,
unused, and you've never taken it out. And
or worse,
like adding in those.
Worse, you pulled it out one time. And I've seen this. Oh, have I seen this at gun stores? Some guy walks in, he's selling something. Yeah, I think you've been into places like that. They're selling a firearm. It's tricked out. It has a Night Force, Trigicon, whatever, beautiful optic on there that's worth as much as the firearm is. And the guy is shot. He's like, I've shot about 50 rounds through it. You think that guy can make a 1,000-yard shot with that rifle? Absolutely fucking not. Absolutely not.
No.
He bought it because it looked cool.
No, because
it was what some Joe Schmuck online said buy. And that's, I won't dig into this one, but it's kind of like the Mesh-tastic world. I think there's some viability for Mesh-tastic, but pretending like it's the end-all be-all with ATAC and everything else is a scary, scary thing for me to hear people pushing that. And I've...
Oh yeah, and it's everywhere.
I'll bring up two. I'll bring up two radio things. I'm going to let you bring up one. I'm going to bring up the other one. There's one called Beartooth. Beartooth's been selling their little radios, and it's a connection. It's a radio that connects to ATAC, and it's pre-set up, and it's easy to go, and blah blah blah, and it runs on a mesh network system. And I think they were selling it. They said they were selling it for over $1,000. It was $1,000 a piece for the radio, and I think they had a discount, like if you really dug around for $350 for it or $400, something like that, which is still a pretty penny considering Mesh-tastic is dirt cheap for most people to get into. It's pay in the ass. Don't get me wrong. Pre-set up would be kind of nice, but it's pay in the ass to get into.
That and he his company's Fortune favors the prepared, and he does like thought maps on a whole bunch of stuff.
Books for emergencies.
He produces
his cards.
Yeah, and his is like a fill-in guide. That is phenomenally well done.
He doesn't get enough credit for what he does. He's a nice guy. I don't agree with everything he says, not because he's wrong, but he's in the I'm going to say civilian side prepping industry, which is fine. Absolutely, you should get his stuff.
Yeah, he's an absolute monolith of information. But either way, we were talking about it at a class, and he's like, "Hey, I picked these radios up. They're advertised all the time. They work all over the place." But unfortunately, the way that they advertise that is say, "Oh, hey, it works."
You can name them because I know they're on Facebook and everything else. So if you want to name these guys, they're not a small company.
Yeah, because I was going to pick them up anyway. Like, I'm going to pick them up. They're the Rapid radios. And the reason why is because I need something that fits in my pace plan a little bit differently for my family. And the way that theirs operates, the LTE system and it uses a oh man, I just blanked out the SIM card. And ultimately, what it does is it allows it to connect to any cell phone tower anywhere, no matter what the service type is. And for a basic level of, hey, I just need to go and hear your voice, or hey, I just need to, you know, I believe it has texting features. That works really, really good. I have used them. I really do like them, but I am skeptical that sometimes, as I would bring up um, with the North Carolina thing again, if the tower is, who don't know that towers have types of things, whether that is raw voice or data, or just messaging, like that is, those are all placed differently within the tower signals. But if the tower is gone completely,
you're not going to do anything.
It doesn't help anything. But
rapid radios, how they work is they actually kind of compress your communication and do it in a burst data thing, which is usually the last thing to go in the system. If you can't make a call, they always say try texting, because that's a data burst. They just take your voice and make a data burst and send it out that way. And
that is the proper terminology for what I was
and the kicker with this thing is they say there's no monthly fee. There is a yearly fee for their radios. I don't know if you knew that or not. And that was another comment.
Yeah, it was like you get the first for, I think it's included with the radio's price.
And then you got to pay for it yearly.
But it's still, and that was what that's what we talked about in depth, was he did the research and looked at the cost if I got them, or could I get the SIM card with this service anywhere else of the same caliber, and he couldn't. It's still, their service is still, I think he said it was about $40 or $50 cheaper than if you did that type of, try to do it yourself, which is great. Yeah, with that idea, and I'll be honest, that's why I'm planning on getting at least a couple, just to put it in and say, hey, look, this is another route of, hey, if this doesn't work, we are moving to the contingent. This is the last bastion of communication. Because if that data burst doesn't come through,
the network's down. You need to go to your radios now.
Yeah.
Like, it should be.
Yep. That's at least a raw gist. You know, I can't say I love the. It kind of does something a little bit more technical. I don't hate the idea. Like I said, I still am planning on purchasing them when I get some coin. But at the same, I just can't get involved.
I don't think you.
Yeah. Fear posting, or what do they call it? Fear porn.
Do you know Canine Reaper? Do you know Canine Reaper by chance?
I know.
Okay, so he's on X. He knows A American. He came over. I think he was coming over here or something. He works in South Africa dealing with security and a whole bunch of other stuff, and he posts quite regularly some raw shit and how bad South Africa is getting. His problem down there is they're not allowed to have radios at all. They cannot have wireless radios. So what they use is a cell phone, same exact system as the rapid radio. They're using these radios that are built exact same way. I think AliExpress has them for $40 or $50. Now, they don't come with all the little extra components, but like or your SIM card that will let you run on these servers. He's got his own SIM card, so that's not a concern. But I bought some for him, and because they're trying to protect communities. So I think there's viability for him. But we all know, hey, the system goes down, the power goes out for a week. Your rapid radio is not going to be there, and I think it's a disservice to the community to say these things work without the caveat. And I'll even add to this. The gentleman who talked about these to us, or talked about this whole thing to me, and I brought up all the prices, he made a clear statement that I should have brought up earlier that said, be careful what they're not saying, look for what they can't do. And he actually brought up rapid radios himself and why they were not good. Now, I think it's kind of like the Meshtastic. You use Meshtastic on your own property. You have control of them. You're using them for connecting networks and systems and stuff like that on a wireless thing. Maybe you're making a security system where a gate moves and it transmits to another uh, mesh system and tells you hey, somebody's detector caught something, that's fine. I wouldn't.
That's definitely something I would. I am not the biggest fan, um, but I mean that's my opinion. I mean, what of it? From what I've learned about it, super capable, super cool.
Yeah.
Seems a little
And
too
he
good to
said,
be
"Be
true to
careful
me.
of things that
That's
are
all.
too good to be true." And as he was saying that, I felt the same way with his products. I'm like, "Why are you selling this? Why are you doing this way?" And I would have probably been okay with a price increase, this and that. And he's doing training. I know Scout survived on training after a certain while, and I know this guy's training prices are a little bit more expensive than Scout's. Now, if I didn't know Scout and I didn't know this guy, and I rolled the dice, I might have bought the more expensive class, and he would have taught me pace plan and some other stuff, and it would have been a civilianized thing, and that's fine. That's not wrong. I probably would say his classes aren't that bad. They're probably pretty sufficient for people who don't know any better. And I don't know how much he gets into radio or antenna stuff. He was talking about NVIS and some other stuff. He used a basic terminology for it. I feel like I can teach it way better than he can, but personal preference. And I've been around it a lot longer than most people have, so that's part of the reason I've heard a lot of people teach it. And radio technology, radio communication is so esoteric. I kind of sometimes equate it to understanding what the fifth dimension is, because that's how kind of hard it is to understand. But once you start getting an understanding of what third dimension is, you understand 3D. You know it. You live in it. Well, fourth dimension has time. We can kind of rationalize that. It's there. You can teach somebody to know stuff. But hell, historian got me farther than I have ever been in understanding how antennas work off the ionosphere. And it blew my mind. I'll have to tell you about that later, or maybe we'll do a podcast about it. His class made me understand how the radio waves go up, hit the atmosphere on the F layer, and how to use the D layer to hide where the hell you are in the daytime. And I was like, oh my god. And I literally compared it to about that. It just your brain starts, realize, oh, there's particles and they're moving around. Anyways, way down a rabbit hole we don't need.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, that's where it starts getting kind of weird. You get, you're talking about the atmosphere.
I might be
different
talking
layers,
Swedish at
different
this
parts
point
of
for
the
some
atmosphere.
guys, which is
But
fine.
yeah, it's cool to dive into. It's just I guess, and I guess that's where I would go. Out of everything that we've said tonight, I still point to training as, and I say that as somebody who is really resistant. I mean, I will go and say I fought you tooth and nail when you were fighting. Hey man, you got to go to this guy's class, or at least go to a class. And I was like, look, like I'm not saying I don't want to go to classes, but I don't want to pay for somebody's.
Yeah, I had to
be
buy your
somebody's
class,
friend,
the
it's
first
kinda
one.
weird. Yeah, and it was, and to be honest, it was the best. I was like, okay, fine, whatever, we'll go do this, and learning that, hey, look, campfire with these guys, you get to learn, guys, gals. I mean, it's all
How much
types
have
of
you
walks of
learned
life.
outside that class? How much did you learn after class?
Oh, by far, almost
Yeah.
way more, because at that point you get to be, you kind of, your personality starts to unlock after a little while, and you start to trust and say, you know what, like let's shoot. There were guys like running off into the woods with their radio crap, and they were like, oh hey, let's go try this. We're just gonna
Let's see if this works.
yeah, and so I would go and say that yes, I understand. It is good to have equipment. It is always good to have equipment, and having the right equipment that you know how to use. Yes, 100%. But I can also go and say that the moderate in me would say, look, like training every day. It is something that isn't going to hurt you,
Yeah.
and I mean it's many services say it. You can never train too hard for a job or a situation that's going to kill you.
Yep. And
And
I would be very fearful for anyone selling me a product that says I've got it all set up for you. All you have to do is click the button. It works. That is a spooky assessment.
yeah,
A
and I guess
spooky
now just
assessment.
because I've learned, but I can also go and say I would fall into that. I would totally buy that because just out of frustration with some technology nowadays. You can't even buy a cell phone. Like, I would consider the cell phone probably one of the most accessible pieces of technology that a common person gets. And like you can add features, and they give you about 2 seconds with about 10 pages, and that's it. My boss would be definitely of a training always tops, every piece of gear that you have, because even if you come across the gear in the wild, you know what you're looking at. You know what you. Oh, cool.
Radio, but I've
Yeah.
touched so many radios, I know how to help you, and we can figure this out together.
Yes, and that's what it is about helping the community and helping others together, even in the simplest things. Make a big difference.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's very important. One other thing I will say is I'm not an Apple guy, but the new Apple phones have the satellite phone feature built into them now, and you can do text messages through the satellite just like you can with the Garmin. And that was never brought up during the little statement because he sells those kind of products. And I think that's kind of a disservice because a lot of rich people like to keep easy peasy Apple stuff. And I'm not going to knock either one. Products are great too. Now, from a Contra
Depending.
point of view, I don't know if I want that on my phone, but I really don't want my phone in a
No,
situation.
it's out.
Yeah.
It's the first one. If that's the situation,
That one's
everyone
taking-
knows that.
That one's taking the bullet before the commie takes the bullet because it needs to go before the commie.
Funny.
So, all right, I think we're coming up. What you want to say other than snake oil salesman, fraudulent stuff, and overcharging on scared people is god awful.
Yeah,
Anything else you want to add?
Nah, it's been like a great discussion. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I thought I was going to do this solo, and I appreciate getting on there. So, all right, you guys have a good night, and we'll be back soon with, I don't know, some other thing. Maybe we'll talk about weight of our kit or something, or maybe we'll have a poop conversation we haven't had yet that I really want to talk about. I know that sounds terrible. It is not a kink. It is on the medical side of it. Don't you dare go there. But yeah.
Sure.
Hey, we got it. Go on American Parson. Look up. I can't remember what was the name of your article.
Oh, it was the. Oh shoot, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I can't remember either. So very good article. I wrote a forward for one of them. I had a blast doing that. It's a fictional story because I kind of like the fictional stories in the front end, but. Rabbit writes on the sustainment, and he definitely talked about sanitation, and he did a very good article on that. And that was well after when NC Scout talked about pooping in a 5-gallon bucket. So along those lines, if you're interested. Anyways, you guys have a good night. Thank you for stopping by and listening to us yak and jaw. Good night.